The documentary Eric Ravilious, Drawn to War, tells the story of an artist whose life might easily have been one of those depressing stereotypes. Like Mozart, Keats and Van Gogh before him, his major success was not to happen until many years after his death. Though unlike the usual tortured artist, Eric Ravilious' life seemed remarkably happy.
I find it hard to say what it is to be English, but Ravilious is part of it.
You look into a Ravilious painting and the path always leads the eye and you want to walk through it.
He became belatedly famous, in England at any rate, after many of his paintings were discovered at the home of his close friend Edward Borden. But when he worked before and during the Second World War, he'd already gained respect for his paintings, which were like nobody else.
It's only been in the last decade or so that he's become such a household name.
All my father's pictures have been under Edward Borden's bed for 40 years.
What set him apart, maybe, was his love of drawing and watercolours and his skill as a designer. Mind you, design is one of those expressions of faint praise, like craftsman, another lukewarm description of Ravilious at the time. Much of his early work was in tandem with his wife Tirzah Garwood, who was just as talented, some say more so, in the field of pure design.
I long to walk the chalk paths. Those long white roads are a temptation. What quests they propose! They take us away to the thin air of the future or to the underworld of the past.
And this is where I run into problems, first describing the film Eric Ravilious, Drawn to War, and then convincing you why I found it such an extraordinary experience. Because, like Ravilious' own life, much of the film is devoted to his visual works.
He fused the ancient with the modern.
Tea at Furlongs, you couldn't imagine something cosy. There's nobody there. I always think could be called Munich 1938.
The paintings, drawings and etchings are quite wonderful, and director Margie Kinmouth finds ways to lightly animate some of them, particularly the uncanny ancient chalk giants carved into the South Downs of Sussex and Kent. But it's a challenge to put their extraordinary impact into words.
My dearest Tirzah, would you believe I've been made an honorary captain in the Royal Marines? I expect they'll be issuing me with my own brigade of paintbrushes before the day is out.
What does carry are the many letters Eric sent to Tirzah and others from wherever he found himself. When war broke out in 1939, he was headhunted by the military as one of Britain's war artists, a job, it turned out, he was very well suited to.
What drew Ravilious to war was that although it was frightening, it was also exciting.
It takes courage. When you are so drawn into the condition, you forget the danger. The result of war is very clear. It's destruction.
The subtitle of the film, Drawn to War, really does capture Ravilious' character. Yes, he hated war, he was anti-fascist long before much of the country, in fact, but he also relished the exciting places he found himself in. Norway and Iceland, observation posts during the Battle of Britain, underwater in Royal Navy submarines.
It was so nice working on deck long past midnight in bright sunshine. I enjoyed it a lot. Even the bombing, which is wonderful fireworks.
And all the time he was capturing these experiences in unique drawings and paintings. They seem both of their time. I found myself reminded of wartime posters or the front covers of 1940s novels, and in a way out of time. The comments of Ravilious fans like writer Alan Bennett and artists Weiwei and Grayson Perry are hugely helpful here.
You know, there's something he does very well. He takes unprepossessing subjects and makes them into masterpieces.
But while you do have to see the paintings to see why modern critics now say he's one of England's greatest artists, it's the letters between Eric and his wife Tirzah that add the humanity.
Her family did not approve of Eric.
And she went through an awful lot.
Like so many of that generation, Eric wrote letters compulsively right up to his tragic death in a plane crash. And while I find it almost impossible to describe the unique charm of Eric Ravilious drawn to war, I urge you to chase it up if you can. You'll get it when you see it.
Painting was his active service, and he gave his life for it.